It's a dangerous thing.
The first rule of Fight Club is...
You ever seen a grown man naked?
I will kill you.
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
just been revoked.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Lone Star!
60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
When the aliens first invaded, they nearly destroyed us. They will be back.
Brilliant.
Hello.
Okay, so welcome to another episode of the Hateful Mate Podcast. I'm Declan.
And I'm... Declan. I'm Julian.
Alright, this podcast was talking about Ender's Game. Both the book and the movie. Mostly the movie and...
What's a book?
Why it's shit compared to the book and compared to other movies.
Compared to things in general.
Yeah, just compared to like not watching a movie.
Yeah, and
this movie is pretty bad.
We've both read the book and watched the movie. Just in fact, like literally 20 minutes ago. So, but we can start from where things began to go wrong, which was literally the first 3 seconds.
Alright, so staying spoiler free for a little bit. Just overall, we'll do what we did last time. What did you like?
Oh yeah, we'll start off with the positives, so that way people don't immediately dislike.
Well, I actually, this
report us for animal cruelty.
This isn't going to have the following that like Rogue One had. So I think we can be a lot more critical of this without people getting mad.
Yeah, I think there's less people who will defend this movie.
Yeah. But still, we'll start with the positives.
Yeah. Something I really enjoyed was that they had kind of like the universe they established I thought was good. Like I remember they had a lot of subtle stuff in the beginning, like they had the biology classroom with all the taking apart the aliens. They had the posters showing like, the devastation. They kind of showed that this was this huge event in their history, although like showing all the footage of all these attacks, it's almost like, could you imagine them showing footage of World War II saying like, Germany attacks? Yeah. It's like, it's kind of past the point. Everyone would have known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, you could see it as like it's so the IF could stay in control. They
it's kind of like a
keep
propaganda.
making everyone be scared so that the IF can just like steal children
and
otherwise
train them to commit genocide.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't.
Spoilers.
They probably wouldn't be allowed to steal children. That's generally something that's frowned upon. So I guess they needed to do this. You don't know? All right. I mean,
that's the thing. That's one of the main themes of the book and I wouldn't say the movie because the movie didn't have any idea what it was fucking doing.
The movie didn't have any themes, you dickhead.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, the special effects team did, but like I feel that they just did not understand the book very well.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely two sides to this. Like, going on what I really liked about it.
I should stay in the positives.
It didn't take us long to fall out of that. No, it looked really good. Not just the special effects, but just the cinematography. Everything was set up. Everything, it wasn't distracting. It was really real. It felt like it was a very good creation of this universe. Like, when they go into the battle school. Spoilers, they go into a battle school.
True. And the bigger, wider set pieces looked really great.
Yeah, everything in the battle room looked really good. It's a very good interpretation of the battle room and everything that happens in there, all the special effects that happen in there. It looked really, really great. The only thing I didn't like, which you didn't have as much of a problem with as me, because I told you to look out for it, but you really didn't seem to be bothered by it, was just I found that every set to do
the alien sets.
Every alien, every bugger or formic. That's another... Could they not say bugger because it was too close to a certain racial slur? Like, why did they call them formics? They said bugger once. I think Peter said it once.
Yeah, I think when he was beating him up.
But, like, why did they change it to formics? Was it because bugger was too, like, racially insensitive?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, that's really not that important.
Especially considering, like, bugger is something that old people say when they drop their groceries on their toe.
Like, and they had, like, a Maori in this. Like, surely it'd be like, is that, like, an Australian thing? Or is, New Zealand say bugger, don't they?
Oh, yeah, we say bugger.
Well, there you go. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll get to my bro Mazer in a little while. We talked about Django Fett in the last episode of Rogue One. Like, Timor and Orson, who I'm actually related to quite distantly. And so my Maoris just keep coming up. My bros keep coming up in our science fiction.
Yeah. I mean, that's good. Diversity and everything. I can't wait for Rhys Darby to be in the next Star Wars.
Oh, that'd be great. Imagine. I wouldn't be complaining about that one.
No, God, of course not. How could you?
Oh, dear.
Shit, yeah.
But yeah, what you said about about the sets and stuff. You're talking about like the alien-looking sets. I was really happy with the CGI in this movie because it's almost like because a lot of time you can just kind of tell like it's so overdone that it's like there's just so much going on that you're like, oh my God, this is just I can't keep up with any of it. It's just like it's like an arcade machine. It's just flashing lights to try and get you to go over to it.
Yeah. Whereas this blended right in. It wasn't distracting. It felt real. It was like a really good. Other than the alien sets looking like you could just punch a hole in them. They look so plastic. Like, remember Imaginex, the little toys that were like, it looked like an Imaginex
It looked
toy.
like Santa's magic cave.
Yeah. Or like a Thunderbirds thing. It looked like a Thunderbird set, kind of.
Oh dear.
Anyway, other than that, it looked really good.
I think the stuff that was actually set, like was actually there, which is I'm usually the opposite on this. That looked like crap. Like when they set up like the alien looking things, but when they had when it was like CGI, like when they had like the rubble at the end, like the broken cities and stuff, I thought that looked pretty cool.
But I think a lot of the physical sets looked great. It's just every alien physical set did not look great.
Exactly.
I don't know what happened there, but I mean,
true.
Maybe some people are okay with it. Anyway, that's my positives done.
Well, another positive that I liked is I thought wasn't too bad, and I was bracing for impact because I was expecting Harrison Ford to be out for a check, but like I don't know, maybe I'm just too cynical. But I thought he did pretty. Like,
actually, yeah, no,
one of the best act performances in there.
I liked Harrison Ford in this. I think he was okay.
He stuck to the character too.
Yeah. I think it's probably the strongest performance out of everyone.
And there was one scene that I thought was like Colonel Graff actually established a lot of the strategy stuff that was like the core of the book. Like when he said, "Oh, like it's not what he did, it's why he did it." When he beat up the other kid, that was kind of like the rest of the movie just didn't explain any of the strategy that Ender thought. It didn't explain why he was a genius.
Yeah.
Which we're going into the negatives, which we might as well get started. As one of the characters said, the enemy's gate is down.
Bean said this.
Yeah, like a bug to be crushed under our feet. And I was really cringe, but that's what we're going to do to this movie.
Yeah. In my little list of notes, my double-sided A4 list of notes, I've written the word dumb about 20 times. One of the notes, which I can't find because it's so full of shitty notes, is dumb dialogue. There's some pretty damn dumb dialogue in this. Things like bullets from a rifle, we will destroy their fleet and stuff like that.
I thought in the context of what they were doing, that painted a picture. I disagree there.
Really?
They were because they were trying to punch a hole through so they could get this thing through. So it kind of made sense to put the image in my mind, almost like a metaphor, a simile or a metaphor that's like, oh, they're just trying to poke through and then go through.
He's supposed to be 13.
Yeah, but he's supposed to be a genius.
He's not an artist. He's a tactical genius. Anyway, I didn't like it.
They like spend 20 minutes doing a poetry scene.
Yeah, he's like, shall I compare these ships to a summer's formic? Like, I thought a lot of the dialogue was a bit shit, especially because this is a very cliche movie. It's not a cliche book, but everything in here is like how the kids react. It's a kids movie.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was going to say is that's a limitation that's inherent is they're going to have so many child actors.
Yeah. I just think they shouldn't have. It seemed like a lot of the time they were aiming for a child audience, which isn't what. That's if you're aiming at a child audience, then you're misinterpreting Ender's Game because Ender's Game is not for a child audience.
Yeah, it's
like
because
it fits that, but it's not the aim.
Yeah, it's not the aim. Orson Scott Card kind of had he had both in mind. He had it for a general audience.
Yeah, but I mean, the movie was a lot more for a general audience than the book was.
Yeah,
people's reactions to things. And I think so slightly breaking into spoiler territory. So let's just get stuck in now.
Yeah.
Overall, it looks great, but it's shit. That's my overall. Now breaking into specifics and spoilers.
There's greatness in you, Ender. The world needs you. You were bred for this. You see things in a way we can't. You alone can understand the enemy. You will be the one to save mankind.
So in the book, Ender is it's all in his head, you know, and he's really like he's clever. That's what he has going for him, is that he's clever. He's a smart little boy, and that's how he gets out of situations. In the movie, at the start, they did that. They're like, he's really clever, and he's like explaining how he beat the other dude, and he's not angry, he's not gloating, he's just normal. He's he's kind of deadpan doing his thing, which is what Ender was in the book. And he like beats up that dude by like grabbing a big thing and whacking him with it.
Oh, I hear that.
At least makes sense how he was able to beat up this dude.
But Bonzo made no sense.
Fuck, that was so. Like in the book, he's all like, okay, I'm gonna lather myself with soap, put on all the things, get it all steamy, so I'm like a slippery little boy, and then I'm gonna get underneath him and do all this shit. Whereas in that, he gets him in the armbar, and he's like, I could break your arm right now, and it's like, you're not supposed to be able to break his arm right now.
Yeah.
You're not the big tough. You're Ender. You win by being smart and clever, and you only do it if you absolutely have to. Whereas in this, he was just like, whoa, and starts beating up this dude who was like half his size.
Oh yeah,
the worst cast.
Oh no, he's just so strange and so distracting. I don't know why, because especially in the book when it was meant to be like he was the underdog. He was so young, so tiny, when all these other people were so much bigger and like more experienced than him.
But he's supposed to be tiny.
Yeah,
Bonzo is not meant to be tiny.
Yeah, exactly. He's meant to be a lot bigger, a lot more experienced than him. And that's what the point about Ender is that he's always got the odds against him. It's that he uses his brain to get through things, and it doesn't show that adequately. Like even the battle room scenes, which in the book display his genius.
Yeah.
Like he just do stupid crap. Like I remember in one of the scenes, like they changed it for no reason when he was meant to. Bonzo kind of tells him that he needs to. He's just stay near the gate, don't do anything, just don't do anything. And then he stays there, plays dead, and then when they all come to him, he gets them all by surprise, which was genius. But in this one, he just goes full Matrix, grabs two guns, does flips and spinning, shooting everyone. It was just...
I'm not going to use my brains to do this and wait back. I'm just going to just like
Become
Rambo it.
Rambo.
Because this is a movie aimed at kids, when the book is like aimed at, I don't know, young adults or some shit.
Yeah, I'd say young adult fiction.
I just... There was so much shit that they just changed. And they set up in the first 5 minutes that he was really clever and that's how he was going to do it. And that's why I was like, okay, cool. It's not done perfectly. Could maybe be a bit better and a bit more him being smart as opposed to just whacking him on the head with the thing. But that was acceptable. He beat the dude all tactically. He was being very withdrawn and held back and really clever and very analytical of everything. And then it's like, okay, now that we've set that up, he can just be a dickhead now. He can just be the dickhead kid who goes through the thing and is very good to all of his friends and is happy, yay.
Yeah.
Like, they just completely changed his character after the first 5 minutes. And then as well, they set him up, they take him back a step, instead of showing any progression of like him learning all these tactics and getting better at everything. It's just assumed that that's what's happening in the background when all he does is be an emotional little teenager.
Yeah.
Like, that's not... One, it's not the book. If you're going to adapt it for a movie, you can change it. That's understandable. But two, and more importantly, it doesn't work. It's not interesting. It's just kid adventure movie. It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's on the deepest core level. It's just wrong, and it makes me upset.
I think one of the things they got so wrong. Well, you mentioned how they made him into kind of like this angsty teen who was a bit like had this aggressive element to him. Well, like I remember. He was, in the book, it was kind of like, it had Peter and Valentine, his sister and his brother were there for contrast to say, okay, in some situations, compassion gets you through, which was meant to be Valentine, and in some situations, you need aggression.
Yeah.
In a war context. And so, and they just kind of changed that to show him as like, oh, he's really aggressive. Like, I remember there's one scene where he's like, oh, I feel like Peter. When he was just training in the martial arts.
Yeah.
He felt like Peter when he defended himself because he's like, okay, I need to, hurt these people in front of people, make an example, so they don't, don't question, they don't come after me later.
But then in that scene, he just strangles some kid.
Yeah, he's just doing karate with some kid.
He's supposed to be withdrawn and really tactical. What was tactical about that? When in the book does he just get really angry and start like punching everyone?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
That doesn't happen.
And the scene where he's like, I can't be expected to do all the thinking in this army. He's like, if you've got an idea that's better than mine, let me not know. I mean, he in the book, he kind of said like, okay, it's good for the best thing that I can do is have have a general strategy, and then my commanders have a
Yeah, they never explained any of
have
that.
autonomy. But in this scene, it's just like, do what you want. I'm shit.
Yeah, and especially, and they also go through all the stuff, the command stuff, like how he's like, I need to be rough on them, but then the toon leaders be nice to them. They need to know that, like, they have someone to go to, but I am not that person.
Yeah,
I need to
exactly.
be the leader. They didn't get into any of that stuff. I mean, some of the stuff, you need to pull some... If you're going to shorten this down into one movie, which I'll get into later, they should not have done. If you're going to shorten this down into one movie...
I think they could have did it, but we'll get there.
You need to cut some stuff, and I get... taking some of that stuff out is okay. Taking all of that stuff out is like... You know World War Z, right?
Yeah.
World War Z, the movie, compared to World War Z, the book. Do you know anything about the book?
No, I've seen the movie though.
The book has slow zombies. They're just regular slow zombies. And the movie is like ant zombies that make mountains and shit.
Ants are cool.
But the point is, they took the name World War Z because it was popular, and then that's it. They didn't use anything from the book. The book has nothing to do with the movie at all, right? And so in this case, they've taken Ender's Game. They've gone a bit further. They've taken the concepts, but then that's it. They didn't follow anything through. They didn't delve into anything that was there. They've taken Ender's Game. They've taken the characters out of Ender's Game, but then they just changed all the characters.
Oh yeah.
And then because Ender is not the same Ender, they're completely different characters.
Yeah,
other than
different.
the first 5 minutes of the movie, which stayed true, the rest of it is just completely different character.
Yeah, that's
Except
why
they haven't replaced him with an interesting character.
Yeah, definitely.
They
And
replaced him with some bullshit.
speaking of the characters, I remember like they just changed random. Like this is what I mean, where they hadn't seemed like they had no idea what they were doing and what they were changing and what they were keeping the same. Like they had poor Dink.
Dink was a running joke while we were watching
I know, because
this.
he's just like sits there silent, like damn.
In the book, he's like, he's important. He's doing shit.
And also he's important because he's the one who kind of has this self-awareness of what they're doing.
He's
in
the
his
one
military.
that teaches Ender to be wary of IF.
That they're using him as a tool, like some person uses a gun.
They're the enemy. The buggers aren't the enemy. The IF is the enemy.
Yeah,
and he's
a critical thinker.
He plants that idea in his brain. And like you can take out the character and just have someone else plant that idea, but no one does.
No one does, yeah, exactly.
There's a point where Harrison Ford is like, "I'm not the enemy," and he's like, "I don't know," but that's not planting the idea in his brain though. It was just like he's just being bitchy, really.
Yeah,
he was just being passive aggressive.
Exactly, and also like the whole idea of the isolation, like, because like they screwed with him a lot. In the book to try and get to get him to be creative, to get him to be brilliant. Like an example being like of every time he'd make a friend, they'll kind of separate him from him and have to find new people to basically get along with, be a leader. But in this one, they're just like, Petra's just like, they swapped me into your team.
Yeah, there was no progression. They didn't show any of that stuff because there was no progression. There was just no impact.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't like, wow, this kid's really smart. It's just like, we need to get through these story points so that we can get him out of there.
Yeah,
we need all these things to happen. But it's the Rogue One problem where if the characters are not good, then you don't care. The best character was probably Graf.
Yeah.
But it was like, he wasn't this big part of it, and he shouldn't have been. But he also shouldn't have been the best character.
Yeah.
It's Ender's Game, right? It's Ender's Game. That's the name of the movie, and it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't his game. He was just there while everything happened. He was set up as this really smart, clever little boy in the first 5 minutes, and then it was just dropped. He was just a emotional teenager who wanted to bang Petra, but who was supposed to be like in his book. She was like almost like his older sister.
Yeah, true, and much taller because he's so tall.
Why did they pick the tallest kid in the world to play Ender?
It was so funny, especially when Bonzo is threatening him. He's like, oh,
he's like threatening his fucking belly button.
Yeah, no, he's like,
what are you doing?
If you don't look out, I'll punch you in the knee. Which is so ridiculous.
And I'll headbutt your dick so hard.
Unless we act now, Earth will be annihilated.
We're out of time.
He's not ready.
You're never ready. Go when you're ready enough.
So the book was written in the 80s. This was made in, I think, 2013.
Yes.
All right, so there's the Cold War was going on in the 80s, and that's affected a lot of the book, and that they were saying, okay, do we act first, or do we wait for them to act first? This kind of like paranoia. This is what they're going to apply to the bugs, but what they also said is that the bugs are people too. So what he was, and Scott Card was saying was like, hey, the Russians have people too, so if we went ahead and did this, it'd probably be a mistake.
Yeah.
Like wiping out. That's why I would say like the little doctor, the big bot, the machine, the laser they use is a metaphor for the nukes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what his point was, but it's kind of like they kind of took that out because they didn't convey that theme very well.
Yeah. Well, they didn't convey anything.
He just
very
regrets
well.
at the end because they didn't say that the bugs were any sympathetic at all. They didn't make sympathetic to the bugs till the end, where it is like, oh, what have I done? But before these, like, how about that?
Yeah. Yeah. All the kids' reactions in this movie were wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Every single child in this movie made the wrong reaction to everything. Because they were all, it's like a kid's adventure movie. They're like when they first show them the video of like the thing, and then the IF logo shows up after they show like the bug of Mazorak and running to the thing. Everyone's like, yeah, haha, and they're like high-fiving each other.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, first of all, I guess they don't show it in the movie. You've seen this before. This is a propaganda piece, right? But it's like in Rogue One, right? Where they're in the room and it's like, what is this girl proposing? What is she proposing? Let the girl speak. That, you watch that and you're like, this isn't real people.
Yeah.
Real people don't do this. None of the kids in this movie were real people.
Yeah.
They were characters, but they were also bad characters.
Yeah.
But it was all of their reactions to everything. Ender got too angry all the time. He wasn't supposed to be he was supposed to be. He was frustrated and he was going through all these things. He was still human.
Yeah,
but he wasn't just like yelling at everyone, because that's not how he solved his problems. That was his dark side, and he was scared of it, and he was struggling with it, but not to the level where he just starts strangling some kid when they're sparring in fucking karate.
Oh, yeah.
That's not how he. That's like, it's so obvious that it's like, hey, there was this theme in the book. I think we could probably ruin it if we did it like this instead, right?
Oh yeah.
There's this theme how he's struggling with himself, so we should just have him just like strangle some dude.
Yeah,
Just so the audience knows that he's struggling.
I know. And that's the thing, like, the whole compassion versus aggression thing was just ruined because he was just tipped way over in favour of aggression.
I know, he was just so aggressive all the time.
Yeah.
The only time he was nice was when he shouldn't have been. He was overly nice to his like people when he took charge of Dragon Army. And he was like, man, you guys just say whatever, just do whatever, man.
Just do whatever the fuck you want.
Everything's cool, man, don't worry about it. And then he's like, oh, come here. And it's like, what the fuck is happening? The whole point, right, and they didn't really go into the whole third thing. I can understand them taking that out. I guess it wasn't that
I guess
important.
you could figure it.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, I guess they paid for a third kid. They never really explained it. I probably, if I'd just seen the movie, wouldn't have understood what they meant. But anyway, that whole thing happened. But it was like, he was in the middle of Peter and Valentine. Valentine was just like, oh, everyone should be happy. And then Peter was like, oh, shit.
Get the world. But yeah, that's one of the big themes of the book is basically to say that ethics is kind of questionable. Well, it's saying that you can do the wrong thing for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And he kind of says that at Colonel Graff says that early on. And what it's meant to say is that Peter is the negative example because he does the wrong things for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Like he tortures animals, things like that. Just uses aggression for all the wrong reasons. That's what it's saying. Enders is trying to prevent. Enders is the hero in the book because one, he knows when to do the good things for the right reasons or the wrong things for the right reasons. He just understands it.
He's very analytical of every situation. Whereas in the movie, he's just mad.
He just does shit.
He's very angry.
He does shit for no reason, like shooting double pistols.
That was so... Like... oh my... The battle room in the book was fucking cool. I know that like I'm a big sci-fi nerd, but the battle room was just like such a cool concept, and all the things that happened and how he progressed as a leader and how he never defied an order.
Yeah, true.
And he used that. He wouldn't just like, okay, well, I'm just going to disobey the orders and come out with double pistols, guns blazing, and Rambo the whole place. He was just like, I'm going to sit here. We're going to lose, and it's going to be Bonzo's fault.
Yeah.
He's going to know that.
Yeah,
but I'm going to know that I won.
Yeah, and so it showed after, because I had like the statistics, and they showed that he was actually fine after the battle.
Yeah,
and it looked like Gonzo had made a stupid mistake.
Yeah.
So basically, he was using all the tactics to try and to undermine him because
yeah. But it's like it kind of happened because they were like, "Hey man, good job on the leaving him back until late, thinking it was his idea."
Yeah.
But it just didn't have the impact. The thing, right, about having power, about a character having power, is that you get someone into a room and you have them yell at everyone, and then they do what he says because he yelled at them all. That isn't power. If you get someone to walk into a room and he's quiet and he like whispers to everyone, he like not whispers, but he speaks very quietly and calmly, and everyone does exactly what he says, that shows power.
Colonel Dab shows power.
Fucking Dab.
Fucking Dabs.
But Ender had no power because he's going out there, double guns, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
When you withdraw yourself and people listen to you, they be quiet to listen to you. You don't have to yell. Like, it's the opposite. When you go the opposite of power to gain power, that's what shows power. And he had that in the book. He was so...
Because he earned it through progression.
Yes,
something you said earlier was that he progressively showed how good he was at this, and that's what they didn't show in the movie. And he earned that respect, earned the power, earned the leadership.
Yeah.
Through being brilliant.
Yeah, and it's not just that. It's like it's the opposites, because he wasn't like Bonzo. He wasn't going out there and yelling at everyone and doing all this shit, but he had control. It's control through this passive kind of held back thing that made him so powerful and so interesting as an actual interesting character. And you're just like, wow, like he's so smart and he's so clever, and this is just shit. It's just a really shit, boring cliche character that we've seen 100 times in adventure
young adult
stories.
Fiction.
Like it's like if you're watching what's that Cats and Dogs.
Cat Dog.
He's like a character out of Cats versus Dogs or whatever that movie was called. A kids adventure movie.
Spy Kids 3.
Like he's like a Spy Kids character, man.
He is, yeah. And I suppose there's a lot of limitations, as I said, with child actors.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like there's shows out there like Stranger Things, which show you can get around it.
It's a matter of direction. I don't think all the kids just happened to be acting badly. They were given bad lines. They were told to react in a way that was cliche and distractingly shit. They were told to be like, yeah, awesome, high five, and they were told to, like even like the delivery of really important lines, like when Bean first says the enemy's gate is down.
Yeah,
it's like that is such a huge part of the book, and in the movie, it's like, hey, maybe we could think of the enemy's gate is down because they had to force it's like a really bad build up to a punchline. It's like when the punchline doesn't work if the build-up is so obvious and takes forever. Whereas in this, they just tried to rush that build-up, and it was so obvious how they were trying to get that line, force that line into the scene. How they were just like, look, they're all still trying to orientate themselves as if they first came in. Or maybe we could think of the further enemy gate is down.
Like bugs to be crushed under our feet.
It had no impact, like nothing, and this obviously wasn't the only case of nothing having any impact. All of the important scenes in this book, except for stuff at the end and stuff at the start, everything in the middle of this movie, everything important that happened in the book was just flat. In this, it just didn't have any kind of all the brilliant concepts, like the battle room and how they had the ranking system and formations and the non-formations and all the tactics behind it. He's a tactical genius, and they just you already know that. We don't need to show any kind of progression or get into the whole concepts that made the book really interesting or anything. We just have to be like, he's a tactical genius, so he won.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was kind of hinted at the one where they all bunch together and head towards the gate, and that foreshadowed what he did later on. So I thought that bit was done acceptably. I'll say acceptably, but
it's like when it happens, it still has no it has impact at the end, but it has no impact when it happens.
I think when it happens, it shows a bit of a strategy to just get the one girl through.
Yeah.
So I think that was smart, but the rest of the build-up of showing how he adapted his strategies, how he beat all the other people's, how he became so kind of feared that Bonzo wanted to actually...
Yeah.
And the other people wanted to kill him, and also Dink, who says nothing. I remember warning him about these people coming, and then also the staff like Colonel Graff and Anderson said, okay, we know that they're going to try and kill him, but... Part of the test is that he's got to get around it.
Showing them as the enemy never happened until the end.
They're just kind of like a bunch of incompetent jackasses who said oh shit, our kids are trying to kill each other. We probably should have put someone, I don't know, put a security guard or something around.
Whereas in the thing there, they're like, no, we need to let this happen. And they changed Anderson's character heaps in this.
She was a bit. I mean, I think they were male. Anderson was a male. I don't know if it was specified in the book, but they kind of had. They kind of questioned what Graff was doing. They were like, if something really bad happens, I'm reporting you. But they're saying
they questioned it, but not as much as in this.
Yeah, not as much as in this.
And I was okay with that change of character as well. I thought, having more of a yang
seems like a sane
to his
human being.
Yin was okay. That was it's like they adapted it into a movie, but they actually thought about it. They didn't just take it in and be like, how would this work in a movie? They were like, how can we improve this for a movie? Not just how can we adapt it as a movie. What can we do to make it better for the audience to see?
For the popcorn-eating, mouth-breathing masses.
I
Eat this up, you dumb pigs.
I don't know who was the director of photography for this, but it's clear that the director didn't care about Ender's Game, but the director of photography did.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of really well-shot.
Yeah, I'm so mad at this director.
So mad. So
I don't know the name of the director.
I'll give it a Google now. I have a fact check.
I don't want to even know because I don't want to know what this person's name is because I've got enough hate in my life as it is. But yeah, so many important moments were just glossed over. So I'll get into it now. This movie was too short.
Oh, here we go. So this is I think we're going to have two different viewpoints on this, which is good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I love fighting. So,
I love punch up.
Dude, I'm Ender, man. I just want to fight. I'm hell angry.
I just want to fuck some people up.
Now I'm gonna overact. Watch me. So this movie, I think. I mean, the problem with it. There are a lot of problems with it. My main problem with it was that it didn't have any impact, and they didn't go into all of these concepts. It was a bit under 2 hours. I think it was like an hour and 50 or an hour and 40. I think it should have either been a 3-hour movie or it should have been a trilogy.
Damn. Yeah, I agree that it should have been done differently, not in a movie. But I've just done my fact check and looked at the director.
Yeah.
Gavin Hood. He produces some quality films such as X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Continue.
So that makes this makes sense.
We need minds like yours, Ender. You'll be the finest commander we've ever trained.
But yeah, what you said about the three movies, I would opt instead for a TV show. I think this would have made a great TV show. And there's more money going into TV now than ever before. So I think it could have been done really well and kind of
Yeah, I mean, because I guess if you were trying to split it into 2 or 3 movies, it would be hard to have an ending.
Yeah.
That wasn't just kind of forced, and I can understand that and kind of trying to split it up into a couple of movies. So if it was a TV show, though, you could definitely do that.
And you could do the other books in the next seasons and stuff like that. So.
But the point is it was too short. There wasn't enough time to go through all these things. So you rush through everything, but when you rush through everything, you might as well not make it. Yeah, because it's just all the plot points that happens. It's like, the synopsis of the book is then made into the, they didn't even read the book. They read the Wikipedia plot summary. They're like, these are the things that happen. So this is how we're going to make the movie with these things happening. But none of them mean anything. And if they just expanded on it and they actually showed, if they did split it into movies and they showed his progression to how he actually show that he is this tactical genius and how he gets there and all the troubles he has to go through and develop his character, change his character from being shit into actually, the book character. You can't do that in the movie that is this short. Yeah. It needs to be drawn on, and without that, it's just
I think it was
such a waste.
I have to look at this. I might be wrong. I'm thinking it was an hour and 40 minutes. I think
it was an hour and 40.
Yep. So
or around that 40.
I feel as if they added an extra half hour or something like that, people would have complained. Either way, so do if you don't, do if you don't.
I mean,
but
yeah, I think it needed to be longer.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
I agree,
boring because it
seemed like
was
they were,
bad.
yeah.
But if they extended it, it wouldn't have been as bad, so it wouldn't have been as boring. Because they could have gone into these concepts instead of just hinting at them. It's like you go into you see the stuff with the battle room. You see like 2 battles or something. I want to see a movie about the battle room because that's more interesting than fucking Ender. Ender isn't interesting. The battle room is interesting.
Yeah.
It's like I want to take if this is his character, if this is all he can do, and this is as interesting as he is, take him out. I just want a story about the battle room because that's cool. That's interesting, and I want to know about that. But you don't. If you don't actually go into it and talk about it, there's no point.
And they left out the the whole Locke versus Demosthenes thing back home, which I think I was okay with that.
Yeah,
for a movie, I think
for a movie adaptation, it makes sense, especially because when he wrote that into the book, like when he wrote Ender's Game, he wrote the proper full because he originally wrote it as like a little novelette thing.
Yeah.
He rewrote it not because he wanted to do it, but because he wanted to write the sequel, Speaker for the Dead. But to write that, he needed to make Ender's Game a novel. So the whole reason in the first place that he wrote Ender's Game, which has been kind of universally accepted as the better book, by
as the
people,
classic,
it depends. It's very different. They're very different books. But the whole reason he wrote it in the first place was to set up this new one, and the whole stuff with Demosthenes and Locke was kind of a very big setup for Speaker of the Dead. So it's, again, understandable why they would take that out. It did fit, and it did kind of add to everything, but for the movie adaptation, you can understand getting rid of that.
I thought it was brilliant in the book. Like, when I was talking about the Cold War themes and do we involve... Because Demosthenes was Athenian figure who basically was saying, okay, Philip II from Macedon is going to come down and invade. We take them out before they take out us, which is brilliant. It basically, well, not saying that he said that was brilliant, but it fitted really well with the whole theme of either the Cold War versus with the Russians or them versus the bugs.
Yeah.
So and that kind of like that mindset of take them out before they take us.
Yeah.
And then Locke which is a bit more interesting because I'm pretty sure it's based on John Locke, who was basically
in Lost.
In Lost. Yeah, so it was based on the Lost character. But he was more he's had a lot of opinions. It's like I said, it's more complicated, but a lot of them was basically saying, which is ironic thing is that he was anti-government. Well, not anti-government, but saying it should be accountable.
Yeah.
And transparent, which is funny because it was actually Peter trying to take over the government.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, that's why it was ironic because he was doing everything that Locke kind of despised.
Yeah. No, I really like that sub story. It makes sense they took it out, but
I think it would have worked in a TV show because they would have been like, okay, we've got more subplots that we can go.
Yeah. No, true. I think it would work as a TV. It was definitely either way. It was too short. It needed to be made into more movies, or
But I think as well, like because everything is a cold hard business and runs on cold hard cash. This movie was a bomb, like financially. So it made 100. It was made for 110 to 115 mil. And only made 125.5 mil, and that's not taking into account advertising.
Yeah,
and whatnot, which is a huge amount.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that they wouldn't really have the license to if they said okay we're going to plot out for 3 movies and the first one bombed as hard as that.
But
then it could have just
would the first one have bombed?
Yeah, had
if they had split it into just a third of that story, but actually made it good, made his character good, made it interesting, made you want to see what happened next. Because if they made the movie like it is in my head, I'd absolutely go and see the next one.
But you won't. We saw it anyway.
Yeah,
because we're
pay for it.
We enjoyed the book. No, we were responsible moviegoers.
Dude,
we paid to watch this movie.
I don't even know how the internet works.
Exactly. We've not heard of any pirates or bays. We just stick to.
Look, I bought the book. Okay, that's fucking. I've already supported the bloody gay hater.
Oh yeah, it's a good point. Orson Scott Card, great novel, mate, but you are a dick.
Yeah, would you rather support the director of this movie or the guy that put all of his funds into like just murdering all the gay people?
We can't say murdering, but the intention is there.
I can say it. It's not true, but I will say it.
Don't sue us, Orson Scott Card. We love your book.
I actually do.
But yeah, like he says stuff, some interesting stuff like that. All homosexuals are mentally ill, and all this stuff that I find. I mean, I mean, everyone always says different era, but he was intense, like, even for the 80s.
No,
like,
he's just pretty crazy. And he still holds all those beliefs. Like, I've seen some interview stuff with him when this movie was released, and he's still like, they were like, oh, did you think, you know, people, you know, there was like a whole boycott the movie because of all your stuff, you know, do you think that may have like affected it in any way or affected the fans? And he's just like, oh, I've said everything I'm going to say about that whole situation. So he doesn't talk about it.
oh, yeah.
He's just like, you know, they're bad.
I think, yeah, he's kind of, I think, because times have changed so much in regards to that, I think he's kind of
keeping it to himself.
Zipped it, yeah.
Yeah.
which is hilarious. But in fact, he said produced here, because I'm looking at the screenplay was done by Gavin Hood, which makes a lot of sense, because he's an incompetent prick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, Gavin Hood did the screenplay, which makes sense, because X-Men Origins Wolverine, I don't know if you've seen that movie, but my God, it's dumb is the word. Yeah.
And the thing is with the screenplay as well, that I've listened to this thing where Orson Scott Card was talking about the screenplay. He wrote the screenplay originally. So the fact that he doesn't have a credit for the screenplay shows how much fucking Gavin Hood changed the screenplay. But listening to him talk about what he wanted this movie to be, where he wanted it to go, and how, like, when he originally wrote the screenplay, it seemed flat, so he turned it into this buddy thing between him and Bean, so that you had this on-screen connection, because you're not in Ender's head like in the book. So they wanted to have this rivalry between the two. And obviously Gavin Hood has taken that as, okay, we don't need a rivalry. We just, and also it has to be a girl. So you've got the love interest, obviously, because it's a film and, you know, it needs to be, there are these, you know, building blocks. They need to be in a movie. Nothing can be any different or smart or good. God fucking bid. That a movie makes you think. But I got so, when I listened to him talking about the movie before I saw the movie, and so I was kind of really excited.
And
I'm
was
like,
he
oh, wow.
excited about it?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
I've listened to one thing when he talked about it before it was released, and one thing where he was talking about it after it was released.
Right.
And he was a defeated man. He was not happy with how it came out, but he had to pretend he was, because it's his...
Oh, yeah. He's the face. He's like a big fat part of the, part of the marketing and trying to recuperate all that lost money.
Yeah. And, but speaking about Speaker of the Dead, like, you know, the whole reason why he wrote that stuff in the first place, there is a reference in this movie that makes me very mad.
Oh, right.
There is like a 30-second long thing where Misa Rackham is talking about, like, his tattoos, because he's got all these tattoos on his face.
Which from my culture. They're Morkel.
From your culture, which means I'm allowed to make fun of it, because my best friend's Maori.
Yeah.
So I can say any slur that I want. So when he's doing his thing, and he's like explaining why the stuff's on his face, and it's like, it's a way that I can speak for the dead. Which is obviously being like, hey, the next book is called Speaker for the Dead. It's like a little reference, you know. It's like, you know, fan service kind of thing.
And I hope they weren't hanging out for the sequel on this one. Like, they're like, all right, get into production right away, boys.
They definitely weren't. Like, it's actually, because Orson Scott Card has been like, unless I'm dead, there is not going to be a Speaker for the Dead movie, because it wouldn't
for him
fit.
Being dead.
Yes. So that wasn't the plan. They weren't even trying to set up a sequel. This was just fan service, this line. And normally you'd be like, you know, whatever. Okay, cool, a bit of fan service. I guess it kind of fits, sure. But the fact that they spent 30 seconds on this, and every other really important line, like the enemy's gate is down, why don't you spend 30 seconds on the enemy's gate is down, instead of a completely pointless fan service line that didn't mean anything and wasn't called back to? It's not setting up his character at all. He didn't really have a character. Even in the book, he didn't really have a character. He's just a nasty old man.
Yeah, but that's the point. It's supposed to be mysterious.
But this didn't progress anything. It was just there for fan service, when you could have, if you're going to make the movie short,
time is precious.
Put the time into something important. If this movie was 3 hours long, keep that line in there. Why not? But it made me so mad that they thought that was important, but, you know, Ender wasn't. Ender isn't important, but we better make a, you know, what's the next book? So that the people who've already paid to see the movie get a bit of a giggle out of it. Yeah. Like, and I didn't fucking giggle. I was pissed.
It's no longer a game.
Still think he's not ready?
As well, when it came to the thing, like, why didn't we tell anyone this? I think they actually kind of might have done that better in the movie. Because in the book, he was just like, I told them, but they laughed at me. They didn't believe me. No one believes me. And when I read that, I was like, why not?
Yeah, why not? This guy's like Space Jesus. Why don't they believe what he's saying?
I don't. But then in the movie, they were just like, no, they believe me. They know. We just can't tell anyone. I actually preferred that. That's literally the only thing I preferred from the movie.
Yeah, because I mean, it's plausible that they said, oh, you know, if they thought that we lucked out, like say if they're like, I don't know if the bugs are paying any attention, then it's useful for them to not think that we know this.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, they also didn't think that they could understand their language at all.
Yeah, but they're trying to. That's the thing. They're trying to reach out to Ender.
Yeah,
but which was an interesting ending scene. It changed a lot from the book.
Yeah. I the last 10 minutes of this movie, I liked.
Yeah,
I liked the last 10 minutes. I think
it got the theme across, which was better than the rest of the movie.
yeah, and there was actually like good performances. Well, kind of when it first ends, they first win.
Oh,
they completely flipped.
They did
how everyone reacted in the books.
Or as Mazer Rackham would say, flopped.
They completely flopped it. In the book, the kids they win and they're just like, all right, that was woo. And then all the people like the people who were there to watch, they like start crying and hugging each other and they're like, oh, the shit's happening. Whereas in this, the kids are like, yeah, we did it, high five.
How was that? I could just imagine them grabbing a football and slamming it in the ground, like, yeah, how was them apples? But, and also like Ender nuked the planet in the book. Because, I'll say, little doctored the planet.
Yeah, because he was just
he's being indignant. He was like, okay, these guys give me an impossible game, I'm going to screw it. And
they never went into that theme, because he did that back in the battle school, but again, they never showed that. They never showed any of that.
And even Colonel Graff was like being a bit of a genius with it, because he was saying like, okay, if I set up these rules and try to make it seem unfair and he tries to break the rules, that's what we want. They
barely even went into that in this, because Graff just seemed like kind of a dickhead.
Yeah,
everyone was so much smarter in the books.
They were. Everyone just seemed really dumb and things were happening.
Everything just happened to luck out the way they wanted it in the movie. It was just a bit shitty. But after that bit, the reactions, also the reactions when they're actually doing it, seemed to really, this is just a game. But they're just like, when they use the little doctor for the first time, and they're like, wow. It worked. And you can see that Petra's almost like tearing up. And I'm like, you've done this like 20 times before. Like, this is the first time we're seeing it, but you have already done this. Why are you like crying? Like, you've been trained to use this. You've already seen it happen, and it's a game.
Yeah,
it's just a simulation. But, it's not, but they think it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Why are they reacting like that? Why is Ender yelling at them all and doing all these things and doing all these artistic metaphors, doing like a bloody Winston Churchill speech? Like, it's a fucking simulation. They're not acting like, the direction of the actors in this film was fucking shit. Other than Harrison Ford. And Anderson was...
But I'd say I don't entirely agree with the last point in that in the book it was kind of showing that these games were like their life. That was their life. So I could see why they take it super importantly, but like the whole reaction of going from ridiculously happy to ridiculously sad was just questionable. Yeah. Like, it was just hard to understand, and
they're trying to make it obvious. Yeah. But it
in the
takes
book,
away, it makes
so tired.
It doesn't make it real.
Yeah, exactly. In the book, they were exhausted.
Yeah.
So and basically, when they defeat, it was kind of when they beat it, it was kind of like they were just tired.
They're just like, God, I just want to go home. Yeah, that's pretty much all they were thinking. They also never explained why they brought those kids in. Like in the book, they were like, well, you know, you're commanding these kids, and these are the people you've commanded before, and you've seen all this progression. They didn't even show it in there, but they're like, you know, you these are the people you have learnt. So we're putting them here. Whereas in this, they were just like, ho, Ender, it's me, Bean, from before.
Petra just shows up last minute like, guess what? It's me. I'm an idiot.
It's me.
It's me, Petra.
So that was dumb. But after that whole thing, that's when I started liking the movie. When we're an hour and 40 minutes into the movie, his reaction to finding out when they were kind of dropping the whole twist onto everyone, that, you know, it wasn't a simulation, it was actually real the whole time. When they dropped that twist, I thought that was executed well.
Yeah.
His reaction was the only time I thought that
he wasn't an aggressive bastard.
He was directed well. They were like, this is how you should feel. And it was how he should feel instead of not at all how he should have felt.
He just committed genocide.
His reaction was really good. And then he ran off. And then the way that they changed the building of the castle, like him growing up and going off to another planet and then finding this shit and getting back with Valentine, they, you know, cut all that out, and it's understandable why they did that.
Yeah, because it would have been too much. In a movie that was already packed.
Yeah. I mean, I was completely fine with them doing that and how they changed it from the castle to just the rubble, because then it makes sense that it's on the planet that he was on in the first place. I liked that. I thought it was done fine. They get in there instead of having the egg talk to him telepathically, because how you can show that through film, but it was probably fine to just have the bug.
Yeah, it would have been less. It's pretty funny when we're saying that having a giant bug come out and explain and wipe the tear off your cheek is less weird than an egg talking to you psychically.
Yeah, it's easier to show visually.
It is.
I was okay with it.
Like it showed, because when it showed, like when it's putting its thing to the cheek, to Ender's cheek, people go like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
But then, like people who haven't read the book would think that. But the fact that it did that basically showed that. Well, I think again, and that's a lot of what the book tried to establish that the movie didn't really kind of glossed over.
Yeah.
It kind of established it. I think changing that scene. I agree with you. It made it simpler for people to kind of understand that theme.
Yeah. It was just like, okay, it did. The theme of the book at the ending still fit.
Yeah,
what they were trying to say in the book still worked here, whereas the rest of the movie, what they were trying to say, it was nowhere. It was nowhere to be seen in this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't care at all what they were trying to... There's so many, like, important themes, like you were talking about, and I don't really know about most of that shit, so it's good that you're here. But what I care about is the cool sci-fi things with their guns and their... That's what I like. But they didn't do either. They didn't get into that whole Cold War thing, and they didn't get into all the really cool sci-fi shit that all the nerds are going to coom all over. I couldn't coom on any of this movie.
Blasters! Oh!
Whereas you can't even you can't even use the pages of the book anymore because they're just coomed all over them. It's like a big Ender's brick. It's the whole... That's all you can use it for, because I love... Oh my God. It's the best, like, it is literally the best book I've ever read. It's my favourite book ever. I'm really into sci-fi books. I love this with a passion. And there was just, with a hot, sticky passion. And there was just none of that. None of that in this movie. It's just teasing you. It's just like,
teasing you.
This looks pretty cool, but don't worry about that. Look at this stupid, dumb fucking kid and his shitty progression through nothing.
Yeah.
When it's over, what will be left of the boy?
What does it matter if there's nothing left at all?
War's the game where you get to reboot and start over. That can't happen, understand?
So I think we're coming from two different schools of thought, because I'm a pretentious English teacher and you're a film student. So, and both of us have gripes from these two different perspectives.
Yeah, it didn't do anything right. Yeah. There were two big... The two things that make the book great weren't in the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, from what I enjoyed about what you enjoyed from as, a big fan of science fiction, as you said, you read lots of it, engage with it a lot. That stuff, the movie, it wasn't executed well. There's plenty of science fiction that is executed well.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't. And then from my perspective, all of the themes that I really enjoyed in the book, a lot of the strategy, a lot of the thinking just was cut out. And there was a problem from both angles, from both my world and both from your world. It was dumb.
Yeah, it was dumb. Dumb. Me reading this page is full of dumb.
You're full of dumb.
It's just dumb.
Dink and dumb.
So many lines start with dumb.
Oh, yeah.
Like
so
this line
dumb.
here says, dumb cliche introduction to Salamander Army.
Oh, yeah. I've got
how they're playing baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And he catches the thing, and it's like, fuck off. Why? This is a smart book. Don't make it into a dumb movie.
Yeah, Bonzo shows up.
Bonzo's nose shows up. I'm like, is there an actor behind there, or is it...
How could he even hold the bat? It's just so dumb.
I feel bad being mean to just saying, this actor was so distracting because he was so wacky and short. Because it's like...
We have a legitimate criticism here in that that Ender was meant to be the underdog in this scene.
Yeah.
It completely undermined the point
And he was also overacting.
He was a terrible actor,
everything.
yeah.
And not only was he overacting, but again, the direction was poor in that he was told to overreact, and then he overacted the overreaction. Like, it was just a fucking recipe for disaster. Oh, God. Fucking damn it.
Oh, yeah, Colonel Dab.
Oh, okay, so he was gay. There was so many
awkward looks.
In the book. There were actually a lot, despite Orson Scott Card's tendency of hating gays.
Yeah, it's over.
There were a lot of homoerotic.
Oh, there are
things in here with him and what's his name, Eli? With him and was Eli the one that did the.
Yeah, that
Shalom.
Oh, yeah, they removed the religious element.
Which if you, I know you haven't read them, but the two sequels, Speaker for the Dead and there's more than two sequels. The main trilogy of Speaker for the Dead and Xenocide, so many religious elements go into the whole thing. They go to this place called Lusitania, and it's a Catholic colony where they find a new alien race. There's a third alien race, but it's a Catholic colony. And those two next books are all set on Lusitania, and the next one goes into this other religion that was created of these people that they say are God-spoken because they can hear the gods, and all this stuff there. He goes so heavily into religious themes, and he doesn't really that much in Ender's Game, but he does slightly. The only time he does, he doesn't in the movie.
Yeah, and it's, I'm glad you're here to talk about the other, like the two following novels as well, because otherwise I would
this whole thing was written as
a prequel.
It was written as a prequel.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't come out as a prequel.
I didn't know that.
But the whole reason he wrote this was to set up everything so they could start this whole thing, and that turned into 27 books.
And the religious thing, like, I mean, this kind of ties into what you said about the third, is they didn't really explain that part of the universe that that basically the third, that there's population controls because it's overpopulated, religion's banned, except people do it in secret, which is basically a dig at Stalin. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying that, like, it feels like religion's kind of under attack in modern society was one point of Ender's Game. And basically he said that in his view, because his religion's so important to him, he's an essential part of humanity.
Yeah.
He basically said, like, Ender retains his humanity throughout the end. He remains sympathetic, compassionate. And, like that. And those good old Christian values he believes in.
I think he's a Mormon.
Yeah, he's a Mormon.
Yeah. It's just all those important themes. Just didn't go into it. All the stuff about religion, stuff about how the IF has just like taken control over everything in their, all the fear mongering that they go through to stay in power. And everything that's happening back on Earth, the population control, everything that makes the universe interesting. And the thing about sci-fi is the universe has to be interesting. That's a huge part of sci-fi.
And it is for Ender's Game,
in this,
but not in
the universe was just, they teach kids. And that's another thing. In the book, they explain why it's kids.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, they're just like, they teach kids. Which makes it into a dumb children's adventure movie. And they don't even explain why they're kids. And they don't explain that they, like, and they pretty much just, like, engineered Ender to be who he was. He's pretty much a bloody robot that turned into this person, and then in that they're just like, that's a kid.
Yeah, and that's why I missed the critical thinking so much, like the question. Because I mean, as you said, he was like aggressive and questioning things like a brat for no reason, just be like, oh, why can't they go home? This is unfair to me. But like, and he did question those in the book. But in the book, one of the main things I was a fan of him questioning was the whole military rhetoric. Like him, and Dink was an important part of that. Basically showed that he wasn't an automaton, he wasn't a tool, he was still a person, even though he realised and he had the self-awareness that Colonel Graf and the IF were using him as a tool, like, as a weapon.
Such an important theme.
But he knew that, and basically he said, okay, maybe, and he said this is part of how leadership works, is like, okay, I'm going to use these people as tools to accomplish this goal. Like, I'm going to use my commanders and whatnot. These people are using me to accomplish their goal.
Yeah.
That's part of it. And he's kind of like, and he questioned it a lot of the time, but he was going along with it.
No!
I'll do everything I can to win this war.
Yeah, what you said about like Ender's Game in the book in particular, because we don't talk about the movie apart from for an hour podcast. About having a really interesting sci-fi universe, completely true, and that's why I think TV shows really work really well. Because again, have a 20 minutes where they're like, okay, let's explain this particular element of the universe.
Yeah.
Like, say they could explain the population control in like one episode, or
pull a Walking Dead and just have an entire have half of your season just be episodes about character development and story world.
And they'd have the freedom to do that. I feel if they did a TV show. Yeah.
And there's a lot more little things that are wrong with this movie. There's like little nitpicky things. I mean, this is one you didn't really have a problem with when they went when he quits, and he quits for pretty much different reasons.
The vote.
When he just that whole thing about when he quit in the book, he quit because he was so sick he didn't want to play the game anymore. They show that coming, there's this whole build up to that, how he's just getting so frustrated with it.
Exactly, because it's putting him through battle. Yeah. And this one, they
never even
squish it into one battle. And
there's 2 battles. And he's like, I'm so tired. This is so... He had 500 in the book.
Yeah, I know. He just goes through heaps of them. And really, that could have just been done through a montage. That would have been awesome to have him showing how he wins.
And they've got all these ways of testing him and how he comes back because he's this brilliant tactical leader.
Yeah, you'd feel him being strategic.
And they never show that. And you feel him being frustrated and just beaten down and how have him make him do a battle every day.
How unfair the battles are they put on him. But literally the first battle they do is just we're going to give you this really unfair one, take 2-on-1.
Whereas in this... and they have that exposition line as well. They're like, we're fighting 2 people. 2-on-1, they're breaking the rules. They have to have that exposition line because they left out the last 30 chapters of the book.
What is she proposing?
Anyway, so he quits for a dumb reason in this, or he quits for a good reason in the book. But then they get to the thing, the little cabin, and he's out on the boat. And in the thing, and it's partly symbolism for him, escaping from all this stuff that he's had to do.
Yeah,
but it fits in it because he's they're like, I don't want it to be bugged. I don't want them to listen to it because he's so paranoid about them. He knows that they are the enemy.
Yeah.
Because that is a huge theme in the book. That they are the enemy.
Because he's a thinker in the book.
Because he's a clever little boy.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I don't want it to be bugged. All they had to do to make it make sense and not be some random cliche bullshit in this movie was they get on there and Valentine goes, so stop the boat. That's all she had to say. What? Why are we on a boat?
Yeah.
I just don't want them to bug us, I feel or whatever. But instead, they're all wearing, he's wearing his white thing as they're going out on this raft into the water. And I'm like, what? If I hadn't read the book, I'm like, why are they doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
This is pretty, dumb, everything else.
Yeah, and I think it just shows that they, it's confusing why they omitted his self-awareness. He has no self-awareness in the movie of the fact that they're using him and things like that. And as you said, the raft is there for a purpose, and they just omitted the purpose for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and as well, just with the battle room stuff, even if they didn't go through everything in detail to show his progression, they still could have gone through everything in detail to show that it was a really cool concept. At the end, in the final battle, they go into so much detail there because it's the final battle and they kind of have to.
Yeah.
But they never really when in the final battle in the battle school, they do the whole thing and they're like, oh, we're not going to use a formation this time, which to the viewer means literally nothing because they don't know what a formation is. Because they never got taught anything about this shit. And they get sent through and it was kind of like, oh, he's done this really amazing different thing. But in the movie, it's like, that's the first thing he's done. He hasn't done this really amazing different thing to just get rid of the rules because he's sick of it and all that stuff. It's just like, okay, I guess that's what you do because I've not seen anything else yet. And they kind of went into detail in that scene. All they needed to do, at least to make the battle room cool, even if you're still going to make a shit movie, go into detail in other battles. They were interesting. They were cool to watch. And they were using the different stars and the different tactics and formations. Even if you're not going to show him progressing as a leader and learning all these things, which you should do. Yeah. But even if you're not going to do that, at least make a cool movie with some cool special effects,
Yeah, true.
Take advantage of it.
Special effects.
Yeah.
But,
do them more because they were really good. They were part of they're almost the best part of this movie was how it looked with all those special effects.
Huge budget. And Harrison Ford, Ben Kingsley,
yeah.
But yeah, that's what I think. That's why I keep saying I sound like a broken record, but TV show. They could have dedicated as many episodes as they wanted to explaining the battles.
Yeah.
They would have flexibility.
Yeah. You know, I'd be definitely happy with this as a TV show, or if they found a good way of splitting it up into
Splitting
two
into different
movies or
movies,
three
yeah.
movies, that would be fine too.
Yeah.
But just the way, I mean, it's pretty clear the way it came out didn't work. So they should have done something different.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether that be a TV show or, you know, longer movie or 2 movies or 3 movies. Or just maybe completely cutting out some stuff so you can go into more effort in the other things. If you need to make a 2-hour movie, expand more on the good concepts and cut out other things so that you have time to do that. But just going through a plot synopsis and making a movie of the, you know, the blurb, it just doesn't work. It doesn't have any impact. The characters didn't have any impact. The impactful moments didn't have any impact. The lines that people remember the enemy gate is down, doesn't mean shit in this. Whereas that's, you know, that's what all the t-shirts say. The Ender's Game t-shirts say, remember the enemy gate is down, because it's this huge
like
part.
bugs under our feet.
Like bullets from a rifle. We'll separate the ships.
But yeah, it's but the thing is, the problem is that, I mean, it did have some useless bullshit in there that didn't go for too long. I would say the push-up scene where Colonel Dab is like, just says, he's like, ask me a legitimate question. And he's like, how about I ask you a legitimate question? And he's like, no more legitimate questions. Give me 20 push-ups. And, so him being a dickhead. Apart from those kind of scenes, I figured like almost everything that they showed was in the book. Not done well.
Yeah.
But in the books. It's the stuff they omitted that kind of made it not make as much sense.
There was also the mind game stuff, which obviously was gone to a lot more in the books than in the movie. They only had like 2 things from it. It was I was kind of okay with how it was done. I mean, it looked good, but it's like there's no progression to his character. The mind game in the book was a good way of showing his progression and how he handles these unrealistic situations that can't exist, and how the mind game was like its own intelligence. And it also goes in the sequels, it goes more into that.
Yeah.
But the mind game was kind of its own intelligence, was like coming off of him and how he reacts to things. And so it was really deep going into his character and making him interesting. Whereas in the movie, it was he just jumped straight into the giant's eye.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas in the books...
Yeah, he was frustrated for
like,
days.
Yeah, it's like, let's see how he deals with frustration. He gets frustrated really fucking easily in this goddamn movie.
Yeah.
Like, he's he did 3 different attempts, and he was like, well, I guess I'll kill the giant. Whereas in the book, it was
he didn't even consider the mathematical possibility that he picked wrong.
Yeah, like 3 tries, dude. Odds are, you know,
50-50.
you probably should have gotten it by now, but it's
you
not.
Might not have. It's very possible.
Yeah, but it was such a cool concept, the mind game. Again, it's like they included it, but they didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the book, the mind game was so cool and it was so interesting, and all the little things that happened. And obviously, like, the book is set over a much longer time. This is set over like 6 months, whereas in the book it's like 6 years or something.
Yeah, true.
And so they show like over time he goes back into the mind game, and it's in real time. Like the giant's body is decomposed and it's suddenly a skeleton.
Yeah, exactly. And then they had the wolf children, which represented the other kids who were with violent tendencies.
Yeah, and how he thought he was just so different. And like there are lines from the book where it's like, am I the only human being on this station? And stuff like that, which is like really deep and interesting, and it like made it so emotional, that book. Even though Ender is so withdrawn and held back emotionally, everything to do with him is so emotional, and
he's more relatable. He's more of a human being. He's got more elements to his personality apart from aggression. Yeah, which he showed the compassion at the end. But it was too late. Like, I mean, they just not showed it through the rest of the
He was already shit.
And also,
you can't redeem him now.
And at the end of it, one thing my favourite thing about the book was probably the reveal. You know, the reveal that it wasn't a simulation the whole time. The bam! But in this one, they kind of foreshadow it, which I feel like they're just doing because they're like, oh, you need to foreshadow things in movies. Yeah. When they have back in there, and these like graphs looking at this thing that says IF fleet arrives in this 28 days, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of my other nitpicky things of this is obviously the computer. When they're watching the videos of Mazer Rackham shit, it's shot like a movie instead of like
it's Top Gun.
Actual cameras from like the machines. Like, who was filming that?
Yeah,
did they have a camera crew? Weren't they like worried that they were all going to die? Why did they have a camera crew up there? It doesn't.
MTV.
It should be like GoPro footage, but instead of anyway. But that's dumb.
BuzzFeed wanted to
bullshit.
get the first gossip, so they had cameras up there.
It's just another kind of example of how this movie was dumb. It was a dumb adaptation of a smart book.
There's greatness in him, sir. I've watched through his eyes. I've listened through his ears. And I tell you, he's the one.
The reveal. I thought it was executed really well if you ignore the fact that they pretty much give away it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because all the foreshadowing is just so obvious. But if you completely ignore the foreshadowing, so you didn't... I already knew the ending because I'd read the book, so I didn't really even notice the foreshadowing. Like, I kind of only half noticed it. Yeah. But you get rid of that, the way they kind of slowly make you realize what's going on is really good. How they kind of slowly bring it on and you're kind of picking it for yourself and you're like, oh no, I suddenly realize what's happening. Which was really good if you ignore the fact that they were just like, this one's real. Before it started.
Shit's real, boys.
Yeah. Especially when you see Mazer Rackham and he's like not doing anything. You're like, I thought he was supposed to be commanding.
Yeah.
Why is he not?
He's like up there the whole time.
Why are they showing that?
Can you imagine if he's just like eating a packet of chips instead of commanding? Just...
that was a bit... But
and I think the way that you slowly realise...
They kind of ruined the only thing they executed well in the entire movie. They finally do something well, but they fuck it up because they give it away.
Yeah, true. And even if they could have been making you think the Mazer Rackham was behind it the whole time, and then he kind of walks out from behind and he reveals he's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
Or it goes up to him and he's watching as soon as they win, and then it kind of feels... But as I said, nitpicking... It was done pretty well in that it didn't smack you with it straight away.
Yeah.
It kind of slow realization, which what was in the book, because in the book it started giving you little hints after the battle, the way people were reacting, which was kind of that bit did screw up, switching the reactions of the kids. And
that was weird. It was a weird thing to do.
Then you realize by them how excited the staff were, oh, something's happening, something's off.
Yeah.
And then you slowly came to realize, well, in the movie you got that same feeling. So I think it captured that.
It's one of the very few things it captured correctly.
Yeah.
But overall, it looked good.
Yep. 10 out of 10.
Well, I'll go with 9 because the alien sets did look very good.
Had good explosions.
Yeah, it had very realistic, non-distracting special effects, and all the sets minus the alien shit looked really great. And Harrison Ford did a good job, and it was just such a fucking waste.
Oh, yeah, true.
How to waste
that was
all of that money, all of the actors.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're not going to remake this
well.
It
was one shot, unfortunately. But you never know. Look at an unfortunate series of unfortunate events.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really shit movie, good TV series now.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe.
Hopefully. Well,
maybe when Orson Scott Card dies, the rights will go to someone and they'll just be like, okay, I'll make this again.
Yeah.
But it could be equally as bad.
Yeah, true.
If they're going to remake it, it's going to be from someone who knows what they did wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not just going to remake it for no reason. So at least if it does get remade, it'll probably be good.
They're just same director, same screenplay, round 2 boys. But yeah, it's come on, Gavin Hood. But yeah,
or they'll make a Speaker for the Dead movie. I've been reading the books, and I always picture Ender, the older Ender, because he's older and he's middle-aged. I always picture him as Ryan Gosling. So if anyone's listening to this,
get Gods on there.
Do Speaker for the Dead as soon as Orson Scott Card dies, so that he gives the rights away. Chuck in a bit of Gozzy, because I think he'd work pretty well for Ender, the actual proper Ender who isn't mad all the time and actually just thinks. Because when you watch Ryan Gosling, he does stuff. He's always just blank faced and smiling at shit and always thinking. You watch Drive and he doesn't say anything. The whole movie is a close up of his face. That would be good for Ender because that's what he's supposed to be.
True. And
but,
it's I get possible. That, but I think on this scale, they had one shot because Hollywood aren't going to give a budget to something like this again. Unfortunately, because they fucked it so hard.
It took so long to get it in the first place. When I was listening to him talk about how many years it took just to get someone to accept the screenplay, and how much he went into he would go to places and they would be like, no, this is good, but obviously Ender's going to have to be 16 and have a love interest. And he said, no, I'm not doing it. And he took all this stuff away. And he went to so many people, and he finally found someone who understood what he meant and said, yeah, look, Ender has to be a kid. There isn't a love interest. That's not what this movie's about. And so he finally gave the rights away something happened. I don't know what happened. Something happened, and someone just came in and took over and just said, yeah, now there's going to be a love interest, and he's going to be 16.
Yeah.
Or he's going to look 16 anyway.
True. I mean, I could have...
So he had this vision, and this movie was not his vision.
I don't want to be a because I'm usually a guy that's like, stick to the books, but I could have stomached those changes in contrast to this if the actor they got was really good, and the rest of the stuff was done really well.
The directing of the actors fit the tone. They changed you can change it. I mean, they changed a bunch of shit in bloody Hunger Games and stuff, you know?
Yeah. Because what makes a great book doesn't necessarily make a great movie.
Film and, you know, they're completely different. They can't be exactly the same, because otherwise this movie would have just been a lot of inner monologues.
Yeah, true.
With Ender, you have to do it differently, and that's okay. But
do it well.
Do it well.
Yeah.
Don't make a shit, dumb, sci-fi in quotations, fucking action-adventure movie. Make a smart... the book... You're working with literally the best, in my opinion, best piece of literature in the world. It's my favourite book out of everything.
I'd say...
How do you fuck it up that bad?
I'd say one of the most well-regarded science fiction books of all time. That's a safe statement.
Yeah, I understand I'm not making the safest statement in saying it's not even the best book or novel, the best piece of literature in the world.
Take that, James Joyce, and your Ulysses piece of shit.
Get fucked.
Get fucked,
pretentious bullshit. Not necessary, right? What matters is Ender's Game.
So Homer's Odyssey? Dude, Homer's Odyssey sucks.
Old.
Old.
Doesn't hold up. They don't know what they're talking about. Ender's Game is the best thing in the world, and to make it this, not bad, but just completely forgettable media. It's not, the story isn't bad, I guess. It's just...
They're pretty faithful, I'll give them that. They didn't get through much. Yeah.
They weren't faithful to the themes, though.
Yeah,
they were faithful to the storyline.
They were faithful to shit happening. And they're like, okay, and they would rush through that shit happening.
The point of Ender's Game wasn't the stuff that's happened. It's not the stuff, it's why. They even brought up in the movie that it's not the stuff, it's why he did it. But then for the rest of it, they're just like, yeah, that was a cool line from the book, but let's not actually worry about that. It's not about why he did it at all. It's just stuff happens.
Just shit happens.
Yeah.
True.
Anyway, I don't recommend the movie. I do recommend the book.
Yeah, recommend the book.
Read the book. Read the next books. The sequels are very, very different to the original, but there's also other stuff in the Enderverse that is more similar to Ender's Game if you prefer that. But the next ones are all about religion and shit, and it's real cool. And there are other aliens and pew pew, sci-fi. Picture Ryan Gosling as Ender as I have done, and you should enjoy it. But don't watch this movie.
Yep, read the book. Don't watch the movie, and hopefully, I don't know, they might get it. Try again, get it right for your grandkids. And
maybe they'll make an HD remake.
Yeah, exactly. DLC. Very good. Alright, well, thanks for listening, guys. That wraps it.
I'm sad.
We love you. Whoever you are. Probably Michael Charlton just listening. Shout out to him.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. I love you.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Talking to me?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
She took a giant shit on my face.
Literally.
Literally?
Not literally.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.